I fear nothing, for all is as the Force wills it.
Yeah, we actually have 7 questions that we're going to be running through, starting off with, will we ever see Erin Kellyman as Enfys Nest again in a live-action series or film? John, you're always sticking in this live-action series or film. It's always kind of doubling up. Maybe we should be more specific sometimes because, I don't know, I see this being a strong possibility that Enfys Nest could show up in a live-action series.
Like an Underworld series or something like that?
No, I'm thinking something that's a little bit more specific about like the rise of certain groups of rebels in certain locations, and then for whatever reason, like Enfys Nest shows up in this one episode of something down the line.
It's interesting. All right, so you think she will, is what you're saying?
Yeah. Plus, they're going to make that Han Solo sequel film, so no, I'm just kidding. So that's a guaranteed. I hope they do too, but they won't.
I really hope they do. I am going to say we will, and I find it tricky, though, because, I mean, she's not a very popular actress yet anyway, so it's not like you're trying to get someone back like Julia Roberts, like come back and play this character.
Or Donald Glover. Like we want Donald Glover back to play this character. She doesn't have the clout.
Right. So where that person can just be like, I don't need you. I'm done. I've done that, blah, blah, blah. So we could get her back there. Or Enfys Nest turns into one of those characters where they were there for a very quick period of time and people love it, and then they don't really get much of it again. Almost like another Fett situation where we're not going to see much of her live action, but maybe elsewhere. Not in the form of this actress, unfortunately. But I'm staying positive here, and I'm with you. I'm saying we will.
You know what's kind of funny too is after Rogue One, do you ever think we're going to see Two Tubes in another movie, in a live action series or film? And it's like, no, obviously not. Yeah. And boom, there he is. All right, we're moving on to the next one. So, after having a little interaction for the first 2 episodes of this trilogy, will R2-D2 and C3PO finally have some scenes together in episode 9? John, start us off.
You know it, man. They will. JJ knows that it's very important for it to happen. I feel like that's been the one thing missing from this trilogy is our version of Laurel and Hardy, or Rabbit and Costello bickering back and forth with each other. That's a big part of the charm of the original trilogy, and maybe even the prequels a little bit. And we've been kind of missing it. So while we've seen one here and one there, it's time to get these 2 guys back together for a little old school R2 and 3PO to close this thing out, man. So I'm 100% saying they will.
I am going to say that I 100% agree with what you're saying, except for the fact that I don't think they're going to do anything different from Force Awakens and Last Jedi. I think I think that that's something that the fans are like, this. And in some ways, I'll kind of give a little bit of testament to that. Sometimes it doesn't feel like Star Wars because R2-D2 and C3PO aren't paired together. They're not with our main characters going on their journey. You know what I mean? We got BB-8 with Finn and Rose at Canto Bight, but how different would that scene maybe have played out if the 2 people who were with them were C3PO and R2-D2? I think people would have been like, this feels like Star Wars a little bit more, possibly.
Right.
So
plus, because one of them speaks English, and that adds an element.
Yeah. So, and then maybe him getting into the antics is a little bit more like, well, this kind of reminds me of the prequels, kind of reminds me of the original trilogy. But like BB-8 getting into antics, it's like, yeah, well, this is just new Star Wars. This is different from the old stuff, but this is it. So anyway, I think they're just gonna end up keeping with that, and we'll probably look back at 7, 8, and 9 as maybe a few missed opportunities, and this being one of them.
Wow. Okay, so you're saying they will, but nothing.
They should, but they won't.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
All right.
That bums me out, man.
It does. It does a little bit for me too, but. All right, next one is set only 6 months before The Force Awakens. Will Star Wars Resistance have more than 1 season? So we actually just talked about this last Monday. about the possibility of it going into a second or third or fourth season, I'm going to say it will have more than one season, but I'm not going to say it's going to be like a 2 or 3 or 4 type situation. Sorry, I am saying it's 2, but a multi-seasonal show. I just think that most of these, I think Disney is well aware that they plan on all shows doing at least 2 seasons, possibly even 3 seasons, because I think they kind of have like a system where if they do a show and it doesn't get or it only goes 1 season, then it could be considered a failure. So I think they budget for all their shows to have 2 or 3 seasons so that all of their shows look like they were successes, and then they decided to close the door on them. I could be wrong on that, but I believe I've heard that about all of their television programming.
I'm going to agree with you and say they will have more than 1 season. And I think it really relies on the fact that is it just going to be a kids show where you can just freeze them in time there and they could be 12 forever, like The Simpsons, like they just don't age and they've been around for 30 years. You can do several seasons here, kind of like you were saying. On Monday you don't really need to jump ahead, being that we're so close to The Force Awakens. If this show is attempting at all to take some kind of turn into a Filoni type of lore dive, then I don't know how long it's going to be, because you're going to need some serious character development and growth like we saw with Ezra, and he kind of grew up as we went along there. But if it's going to be a kids kind of fun romp type of show, they can roll this thing and make it like it happened, like you were saying, in a few months over the course of a few seasons.
I mean, a season of the show 24 happened in 1 day, but it was 24-hour-long episodes with a lot of character development along the way. So I'm saying, like, I don't think it really has to be a time frame thing for us to tell a big story with a lot of things happening and a lot of personal, emotional changes in their character. Mm-hmm. But let's move on to the next one. Will Darth Bane ever find his way to Star Wars live action? This is a yes for me. I believe so very strongly, because I think the second they ever tap into a live action version of anything Old Republic or old history, I think casting or coming up with some sort of story with Darth Bane is just like, I just feel like they could just really have so much success with that. I don't know how to say it any other way, but a screaming missed opportunity if they don't.
Who's playing Darth Bane in James Baney's imagination?
Dwayne Johnson. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
This guy watches Pain and Gain, and all of a sudden now he's the biggest Dwayne Johnson fan.
Whoa, I've been watching Pain and Gain since 2 years ago. No, I'm just kidding. 3 years ago. I don't know, whenever it came out. But who plays Darth Bane? Gosh, I don't know. Like, what's his name? Mimosa? Aquaman? Jason Momoa? Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. I'm with you here. I say we will. Yeah, you can picture like the trailer now, and it says like Star Wars: The Rule of Two, or like instantly marketable, and even for people who don't really know too much about him. Like, I don't even know that much about the character. It's the type of character you can market the hell out of and really draw people in under the brand. So I can definitely see this happening. We'd be curious to see if it's one of the things maybe Benioff and Weiss are getting into.
Could be.
I would love to. Maybe I would love to see it. So yeah, I'm saying we will too. We're 2 for 2 on that one.
All right. So moving on to the next one. After being featured in the latest Darth Vader comic run, will Mustafar be featured or used in episode 9? So now we're not talking about just in general a live action series or film. We're being real specific. This is episode 9.
Very specific.
I'm going to say no.
Oh, you are wrong, sir. I have an exclusive report to reveal to our audience today that
don't believe his lies. Don't believe the lies of the Jedi.
I saw a package being delivered from UPS to Pinewood Studios of actual lava from a volcano off the coast of Hawaii. So
I like
they
you
are
said it was
recreating-
a package and not like an oil tanker semi truck that like had it.
It's just a package, a giant package full of lava.
It said Amazon
and
on the side.
Yeah, and they're filling Pinewood Studios with lava. So no, I don't know. I think we will get some Mustafar. I have a feeling. That was in my pitch for episode 9, so I'm going to stick with it and say that's how we're going to get it. Sort of all 3 trilogy kind of tie-in. You got the Vader and the prequel sense and all that stuff. So we will see Mustafar in episode 9, James.
As much as I'd love to see that being the case, I feel like all bets are off on that stuff because The Last Jedi didn't do it. I think we were all like, this is a great opportunity. We want to see Kylo Ren go here and do this. And that stuff just didn't happen. They just told us a different story. All fine. That's totally fine. But I'm still sticking to that thing where I feel like in general, Star Wars and the people who create Star Wars are always looking forward, always looking to build and not necessarily always look back. Looking back
Always?
Yeah, I think so. So like, I know that we have like
starting
some...
when?
What do you mean starting when? Starting when every time we walk onto a new planet, we see 20 new aliens we've never seen before and hardly any Rhodians or hardly any, you know what I mean?
So like how when George Lucas started his new prequel trilogy, we went back to Tatooine for 2 movies. I mean, come on.
I think, I mean, look, you're going to be able to bring up points, but like, I think in general...
I'll bring up points. We can turn this quickly into a Star Wars war.
Is this a point
right
thing now? Okay. I don't know. I mean, look, I'm not going to totally argue against like The Force Awakens was obviously there were some things that were supposed to be nostalgic. It's supposed to feel like Star Wars, supposed to bring you back to that world. But I always felt like the argument for those things were familiar but new. Like it's supposed to remind us of Han Solo, but it's actually Poe Dameron. You know what I'm saying? Like it's supposed to remind us of Luke, but it's actually Rey. And I think that's kind of always been the case, you know, that they want to expand. They want to create different types of aliens. They don't want to say, well, what we're going to do for this new movie on Canto Bight is we're just going to recreate a bunch of aliens that we've already done from all the other movies. It's like, no, this is fun. Let's make the galaxy bigger. So all that stuff being said, I think if it makes more sense for me that they would go to a new planet where they could do something really cool there than to say we're going to return for the sake of nostalgic reasons. You want to move on?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you changed my mind because episode 3 ended with Mustafar. We don't need that happening again, but
yeah, that could be too. Like people saying like this was Force Awakens was a rehash of this movie, this was a rehash of this, and this one's just a rehash of Revenge of the Sith, you know. So
yeah.
Anyway, we got 2 more, guys. Let's get through them. Possible via a flashback or vision. Let's say that first. Will Palpatine appear in episode 9? And this one for me is a big fat no.
You know how much I love Palpatine, and I want McDiarmid to get back in the robe before he gets too old. I agree with you. I don't think he is coming back for 9. Although, like, I'm throwing away my fan service like filter. Like, I want it all for episode 9, so I would embrace it because I think JJ would do it tastefully. But I don't think we're gonna see him.
Yeah, I think the only way that it would happen is like the same way when we did the Last Jedi challenge. It's like, are they going to use Force Lightning? You're like, no. And then when they do in the scene, you're like, God dang it, they're using Force Lightning. So it's like I can be so confident that Palpatine isn't going to show up, but sure enough, like Luke turns around and he's like, when Darth Sidious, and then all of a sudden like he's right there or something. You're like, oh my gosh, like, all right, and lost.
And again, Vader
him.
almost appeared in The Force Awakens in Rey's Force Vision, and he didn't because he changed that scene. So we could see it in some kind of Force Vision too, like him just walking by and you hear his cackle, like, you know.
Oh, so do you
But-
count audible appearance?
Ooh. I think you would have to get audible appearance because they could. I don't want them to do like because with Yoda in The Force Awakens, they used his actual sound bite from Empire, and I would consider that saying Yoda came back in The Force Awakens. So yeah, I would say you'd have to see him.
Yeah. All right. All right, we got one more to knock out, and that is, will Phasma be making an unmasked appearance in the new Resistance animated series? So we're going back to Resistance for a second, and this might be the opportunity that they have to kind of give us a little bit more about Phasma that we've always kind of wanted from the films we never got, right? A big Last Jedi question was, is she going to remove her mask? Big Force Awakens question was, is she going to remove her mask? Apparently, people really want to see that character not wearing her mask. What do you think? Do you think it'll happen in Resistance?
No. And I'll tell you why. Because what you just said, everyone wanted it in the movies, and if you're gonna make that reveal happen on a kid show, people aren't gonna be too happy about that. And then they're gonna be like, well, what would she have really looked like? 'Cause what if they make her with like some kind of thing over her face or a scar? They'd be like, well, how would that have looked in, real life? And they would have been annoyed about that. It's just way too much, and I just don't see that happening. And I don't think she's gonna be too highly featured in this either. Anyway, so we are not gonna see an unmasked Phasma in Star Wars Resistance.
All right. Here's why I disagree with you is that...
So let's move on to...
I disagree that there's anybody in particular when you say it's not like they're going to do this and then do it here. Like, I don't think there's anybody who's in charge of, like, Captain Phasma specifically. I think at one point, J.J. Abrams was in control of Captain Phasma and made that decision. At another point, Rian Johnson was in control of Captain Phasma and made that decision.
Tricky.
That he didn't want that helmet revealed. And then later, now we're going to have, the showrunners of the Resistance, and they have the possibility that if they wanted to tell that story, they just have to get that stuff approved by the story group. It's not the story group that's writing the stories. They're just making sure that all of it lines up.
Could you imagine people being like, I want, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but people saying, I want to see Darth Vader with his mask off. Then they make an animated series between Empire and Jedi, and they take his mask off, and that's an animated series. I can't see that happening. And I know Darth Vader's a way bigger character, but I'm just going for a mask-to-mask situation. Or even Boba Fett. Like, I couldn't see that. So, but you think they will, clearly, right? That's the way you're going with this?
No, I don't. I'm saying
you built that up so much.
No, I didn't.
Thought you were going to say they will.
Because I said, here's why I disagree with you. I don't think there's one individual that is saying like, no, I'd rather have Captain Phasma always never have her. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's anybody in control. The person who's in control of Captain Phasma's character right now is the people who are making Captain Phasma, right? But the reason I don't think she's going to reveal her face or whatever is because I think even if you want Captain Phasma to reveal, you have to honor who the character is, and the character herself never takes off her helmet. Never in public, never by accident. She just like doesn't let it happen.
She doesn't even like when other people take off their helmet.
Yeah, that's true. That happens. So I think like even if I were writing Star Wars Resistance and I was like, oh, I have the opportunity, could I totally have this character take her helmet off? I can do it. I'm free to do whatever I want because I have creative license of this particular property. Okay, cool. Should I do it? No, because the character never really takes her helmet off. That's the thing. That's the thing that I'm coming back on. But that is just my opinion. Hey everyone, thanks for watching that video. And if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and head over to the full episode by clicking this box here. If you want, you could subscribe, and that way you get all the weekly news, you get our discussions, you get information on our giveaways whenever we do them. It's a good time, we promise. Thanks for watching the Resistance broadcast.